Alrighty, let's head over to our NBA Power Rankings. We'll update this. I mean, folks, we've only got kind of 2 more updates till the end of the regular season. We've got this week, this Friday. Then, the regular season ends next Sunday, the 16th. So we're not sure if we're going to do the final rankings on that Monday, that following Monday, or maybe we do one next Friday, and then we'll just kind of set the narrative like, hey, these teams can move up in the final 2 days of games. Let's see, and then we'll update it again on Monday. But 2 more final kind of updates here. And so let's get into this one coming today. So this was the top 10 coming into this week. We had the Celtics at 10, Bucks at 9, Wizards at 8, Jazz at 7, Nets at 6, 76ers at 5, Knicks at 4, Clippers at 3, Suns at 2, and the Nuggets at 1. Alrighty, we also had the Timberwolves team at number 11 because we don't do 11 teams in our power rankings, but we wanted to shout out a team that was kind of giving it their all at the back end. The Timberwolves, they have no chance to kind of get into the playoffs, so we couldn't put them in the top 10 last week, but we wanted to kind of honor them of the great work they've been doing once they're all healthy in the back half of the season, so we put them at number 11. But we are going to have a new number 11. We're going to do the same exact thing, but with a new team here at number 11. Shout them out a little bit. We just kind of talked about it in our Moneymaker about a huge must-win game for this team, so that's who we're going to put at number 11 in just a second. But for the top 10 here, we've got 2 new teams coming in, so 2 teams will be out. Real kind of jumble up here. We saw a lot of great wins for some teams, so they're going to get elevated a lot, and then some, just lackluster wins makes some other teams drop here. So before we get into the rankings, let's tell you why we're kicking out these teams that we are kicking out. We are kicking out the Celtics, the number 10 seed. I mean, just this last week, they went 1-1. They beat the Magic, lost to the Blazers, just nothing great, nothing concrete. Jaylen Brown's in and out of the starting lineup here for the last couple of games here. So Celtics, they haven't got those good wins, and other teams have been getting it done this week. So we do have to move the Celtics out. And then the other team, the last team we are going to move out, is the Nets, folks. I'm over them. What the hell was it this week? 4-game losing streak. You faced the Bucks twice and lose? Steve Nash, you couldn't even figure out a way to stop the beef for 1 game? Just give us 1 game of you locking up Giannis, but they couldn't do that. And then they have to go and face the Mavericks last night, and they lose. What the hell is that? That should have been a game where everybody's on their A game. You just got bitched by the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, and then you go against the Mavericks with no Porzingis, so there's no trouble down low, and you still lose 1,000% over this Nets team. If you're not winning or being very competitive, and I guess they were decently competitive, but 4 losses, I can't even take it as being competitive. If you're losing against the best competition at the end of the season, folks, I don't know what to tell you. That's not a good team to me. So if you want them to have them in your top 10, but this Nets team will not be in the top 10 tonight. I'm super over this team. And I'm kind of glad. This Nets team is floundering a little bit. So, they're just not, instant, winners like we all predicted them to be this season. They are, losing and, missing James Harden and, struggling against the Bucks. So that's a little bit of a silver lining of the collective season as a whole, because going into the season everyone's like, oh, the Nets are instant champions, they're going to run through the competition. So they're not doing that, so that's good. But Nets out of the top 10. Alrighty, so let's get to the reordering here of the power rankings. Let's start at the bonus 11 seed here. Gonna take the Timberwolves off. Losing their last 2 games, not the greatest. But we got to give it up for this 11 seed. A huge game tonight, and I'm gonna give it up for the Kings, man. Yes, sir. Kings are the new 11 seed here in our power rankings. They're winning without De'Aaron Fox, which I don't know why that's happening, but it is happening. They are facing the Spurs tonight. A must-win game for them, folks. They can be only a game back from that 10 seed, leapfrog the Pelicans also potentially if the Pelicans lose tonight. So huge game here for the Kings. We're going to shout them out at this number 11 seed. And folks, did you know they're 7-3 in their last 10? Making moves, real G's, moving silence like lasagna. And that's exactly what the Kings are doing. So we're going to give the Kings a nice little shout out spot here at the number 11 seed. Don't make us look like clowns by losing tonight against the Spurs. We just took you plus 4.5 points. We're making you number 11. We're seeing you out there, but just because we see you now, don't flounder. So Kings at number 11. Go and get it done. Go get that playing tournament spot. I would love to see what the Kings could do. I mean, they got nice outside shooting. That's all they do. They just put up the points, folks. So let's see what they can do if they can get in the playing tournament. But it all starts tonight. Well, it's been starting for the last 10 games, 7-3 in their last 10. But huge game tonight against the Spurs. Get it done, Kings. Alrighty, new number 10 seed. Like we said, the Celtics are out, and I got to give it up for the Hawks, man. What a week for them. Alrighty, this week they beat the Bulls, the Blazers, and the Suns, and then unfortunately lost to the Pacers last night. Just truly unfortunate there. But, beating the Blazers, a great win. They're just trying to kind of keep pace in the top 6 in the West, so great game there, great win there. Winning against the Bulls, once again, kind of a do-or-die mentality for this Bulls team, trying to get in the play-in tournament, so that's still a good win, folks. And then the Suns, yes, sir, taking advantage of their lackluster shooting performance, and the Hawks were shooting lights out in that game. So the bench of the Hawks have really been getting it done here. Danilo Gallinari, Lou Williams, yes sir. Bogdanovich is getting it done as the number 2, and then we can always rely on Clint Capella and Trae Young, absolutely. So the supporting cast of the Hawks here are getting it right at the back half of the season. That's what the Hawks team needs. That's what they're getting. Great week, and we move them up to number 10. Love it. Alrighty, new number 10 seed. We got to move this team back a tad. So the Wizards dropped from number 8 to number 9 here in our power rankings. In the last week, they went 2-2. They beat the Pacers and the Raptors. Great Raptors win last night. I mean, Raptors and, trying to get in that playoff tournament, trying to take that Wizards number 10 seed, but the Wizards said, we're defending it. So great win there. Fantastic. But then they lose to the Mavs and the Bucks. Bucks games were, both those games were close. I think the Mavs game was like a 2-point loss. The Bucks game was like a 1-point loss. So this Wizards team is ready to compete with the big teams, but are they ready to kind of start winning those games? Yes, they're competitive. That's why we're still keeping them in the top 10, but we do have to drop them back a little bit because they lost to the Bucks and the Mavericks. And folks, we haven't talked about the Mavericks yet in the top 10, but we got to move them back. Do you know what's coming up next? Folks? So we do have to move the Wizards back a little bit, but they're still fighting. They're still in the play-in tournament. Russell Westbrook going 1,000,000% every single game. We respect the hell out of folks. I can't even express how much I respect Russell Wilson as a player, folks. I can't. There's not enough words. I try to do it every day, but there's not enough words of how much I respect what he's doing. So Wizards at number 9, getting it done. The bench, Davis Bertans being more reliable, being reliable scoring wise, and just being out there on the floor. He went through this little stretch where he was kind of out for a couple of games. But the bench is getting it done. Who's their number 2 that's really filling in fantastically ever since they moved Bradley Beal to the 3? And who's at the 2 now? I'm blanking on the name. Oh, yeah, Raul Neto. He's been really getting it done. Just 25 points last night. Fantastic. So the scoring is there. It's not just Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal carrying the show anymore. The bench is starting to get it done. And Raul Neto at the 2 is really kind of changing the game a little bit for this team. So well done for the Wizards. Still competitive, which we love. Just got to move them back 1 seed. All right, new number 8 seed here, and kind of why we have to move the Wizards back 1 seed is the Mavericks. They are the second team newly introduced this week in the top 10. Fantastic what they've been doing. Folks, we have to start looking at Luka Doncic as an MVP candidate, folks, truly. It really should just be between Luka Doncic and Jokic, folks. I'm not going to go through the same spiel. We just did it today on the show, so I'm making a video of it, so it will be up there. So if you're watching this a little bit later, not live, and you're like, oh, what's the reasoning that he takes Jokic and Doncic over Chris Paul and all those other MVPs? We got the video. Just look it up on our channel. It's going to be there. But the Mavericks at number 8 here. Absolutely fantastic. Last week they beat the Wizards and the Heat. Wizards trying to shore up their playoff positioning. Heat trying to shore up their playoff positioning. So are the Mavericks, and they're beating the other teams that are trying to do the same thing. So that's fantastic. They did end up losing against the Knicks or the Kings though. But the Kings though, they're kind of a fluky team right now. So we're not going to count that loss too much against this Mavs team. They're winning without Porzingis. It's just Luka Doncic out there by his lonesome trying to do triple triple-doubles of like what Russell Westbrook does. So the Mavericks here, absolutely well done. They're the 5th seed in the Western Conference now. Give this team some respect. Absolutely. They are taking their chances. They saw the Blazers hit some turmoil. They saw the Lakers hit some turmoil after everybody got, injured. And the Mavericks, sitting at the 9th seed, sitting at the 10th seed, sitting at the 8th seed all season, they finally made the run in the back half of the season, 8-2 in their last 10. Respect the hell out of what Luka Doncic is kind of doing by himself. He doesn't get along with Porzingis. Porzingis is in and out of the lineup, can't stay healthy, and Luka Doncic is just like, you know what? I'll just do it myself then. Fuck it, I'll do it myself, and that's exactly what he's been doing. So, huge shout out to this Mavs team, and we shout them out by putting them in the top 10 at number 8. Alrighty, new number 7 team. This team dropping a little bit, not so much on what they've done themselves, but what other teams are doing. So we got to move the Knicks from number 4 to number 7 here this week. Truly unfortunate for them. All right, they're weak. They beat the Rockets and the Grizzlies, and then lost to the Nuggets. So, a double-digit loss to the Nuggets, not maybe ready to compete against that. They lost against the Suns a couple of weeks ago, so not ready quite there to compete with the top-tier teams, like the top 2 in the Eastern Conference. Everybody else the Knicks can kind of keep up pace with, but those top elite teams, not right there yet. So we moved the Knicks back a little bit. Julius Randle still getting it done. RJ Barrett still getting it done. Absolutely fantastic. Derrick Rose has been going manic these last couple of games, putting him like 20-plus points off the bench. Go get it done. Yes, sir. Emmanuel Quickly still a little hit and miss on his production off the bench, but overall, this Knicks team is still good, and they still kind of, like we said, if it's not those 2 kind of top 4 teams in the league, they will go and compete with the best of them. We got no problems there, but until they start to get a little bit closer wins, they face the Suns tonight, so they have a chance to try to kind of, improve their ranking a little bit. Let's start to be a little bit more competitive, not kind of 8 or double-digit point losses. Let's try to win, obviously, or just try to lose by like 2 to 5 points. That's going to be a close loss against those good teams. So just until they start beating the good teams, the best teams, we should say, the elite teams, we got to keep them at number 7 for a little bit. So Knicks at number 7. Alrighty, new number 6 team. Obviously, no longer the Nets. Get them out of here, please. Jeez. All right, new number 6 team. A little unfortunate here, but once again, other teams getting it truly done. So we got to move the Suns down a little bit from the 2 seed down to the 6 seed. So, all right, the Suns this week. They beat the Thunder and the Cavs, but then they lose to the Hawks, man. The Hawks. And, a little unfortunate. We're a little concerned on this Suns team just of the offensive production. We see this bench struggle really bad in, some games here. It's just like nothing great off the bench. Yes, Devin Booker is going to go for 30, but then nobody else gives us points. Chris Paul doesn't give us points some games. That's why they lost to the Hawks by like 30 points, because nobody could keep up scoring production besides Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayton not putting up 10 points. Chris Paul not putting up 10 points. Dario Saric, Cameron Johnson, Cameron Payne not getting it done off the bench. So the Suns go through some games where it's just Devin Booker, and for that really scares us, and we just saw it against the Hawks. I know the Hawks are trying to shore up their playoff positioning, but the Suns, they're trying to be number 1 here. There's no time to lose here for the Suns. It's in the back half of the season, and you need to start staying on winning games, especially if they want to be that number 1 seed. Chris Paul needs home court advantage, folks. He's never been able to get it done on the road in the playoffs consistently. If he's home with Devin Booker, that's Chris Paul's best chance at winning a ring. So that loss against the Hawks really left the bad taste in our mouth. And then, all right, you beat the Thunder and the Cavs. Folks, they can't even get into the playoffs, so they're actually absolutely playing for nothing now. So huge loss here against the Hawks. And folks, we're at the back half of the season, the final 5, 6, 7 games for these teams. We can't be kind of, writing off, bad losses. We need to see what these losses are. If you're not cleaning it up, if you're not being 100% at the end of the season, because we are seeing teams be 100% at the end of the season. So I can't kind of forgive these games. And that game against the Hawks where they lost by 30 points, nobody else was scoring the ball besides Devin Booker. I can't look past that, because that's something that's a reoccurrence that we've been seeing throughout the entire season of the Suns team. So Suns have to drop down a little bit to number 6. All right, new number 5 team here. This team got moved up this week. So shout out to this team, the Jazz. We moved them up to number 5. They're they've been getting it done. No Donovan Mitchell, and they're still winning pretty consistently here. In the last week, they beat the Raptors and the Spurs twice. And now, these may not seem like good wins, but folks, these teams are fighting for a play-in tournament spot. They're playing for something, folks, especially that Spurs team who is currently at number 10 and then get rocked by the Jazz twice in a row. They beat the Raptors, who are trying to get in the play-in tournament. Their kind of play-in tournament, unfortunately, ended yesterday because they lost to the Wizards last night. But, yeah, not winning against that Jazz team, Jazz beating them, the Raptors not able to kind of build their winning confidence, and now they lose against the Wizards last night. So do we say the Jazz kind of single-handedly ruined the Raptors season? I wouldn't go that far, but, little edge there to the Jazz. So, like we said, no Donovan Mitchell. They're still winning. Jordan Clarkson off the bench, giving us 19 points now. Fantastic. Joe Ingles getting it done at the 1. They still got Bogdanovich. He's been stepping. Folks, these Bogdanovich people, where do they come from? They are just putting up 25 points every single night consistently for the Hawks, for the Jazz. So, shout out to them. Shout out to the Bogdanovich. I know they're not brothers. They may be brothers. I don't think they are. But the mothers, like Tobias Harris and, who's the other Harris that we like? Tobias Harris. Joe Harris, yes. Tobias Harris, Joe Harris, all get it done. The Harris brothers, the Bogdan brothers, the Bogdanovich brothers, get it done. So, Jazz still winning. They're the number 1 seed still in the Western Conference. They're beating solid competition here at the back half of the season, but they're still looking good without their main man, Donovan Mitchell. So, we give them credit at the number 5 seed. Alrighty, new number 4 seed. This team's coming down just a tad, not because of what they've done, but because of what others have done. But we moved the Clippers down to the number 4 seed here. So the Clippers this last week, they beat the Raptors and the Lakers, but then they lost to that Nuggets team, man. That Nuggets team got to start beating. Folks, we have the number 1 seed as the Nuggets coming into this week, and the Clippers still can't beat them without Jamal Murray. Another reason Jokic needs to be MVP. The Nuggets are continuing on to beat the best teams in this league without Jamal Murray because Jokic is getting it done. Yes, Michael Porter Jr. is great. Yes, Facundo Campazzo is really kind of being great here to step up into Jamal Murray's place, but at the end of the day, Jokic is having 26 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. He's facilitating the floor while getting the offensive production done. So that's enough of Jokic for the second. Let's get back to this Clippers team. But yeah, this Clippers team is getting it done. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Beverley. Folks, I can't believe I forget their names every single time. Patrick Beverley and Reggie Jackson. Yeah, I'm glad that Reggie Jackson's still in the starting lineup. Patrick Beverley's back healthy. If he comes off the bench, I think that's great for him. We get better offensive production by I just forgot the name again, folks. It's truly bad out here. Reggie Jackson. He's got great offensive production. Patrick Beverley, a little bit of a better defender out there coming off the bench. I think that's great there. So this Clippers team is still good. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they've been getting, and folks, Paul George, just by himself. I mean, Kawhi Leonard just came back from that injury, missed a couple of games, but Paul George truly getting it done by himself. So it's really going to come down to Paul George in the playoffs. Can he sustain this level of play that we've been seeing these last 2-3 weeks? Just, 25, 30 points a game, efficient as all heck, translating the wins by himself on the floor. So we've got to give this Clippers team credit. Just unfortunately, other teams played a little bit better than them this week. So we do have to move the Clippers back a little bit here, one spot. Alrighty, new number 3 team here is the 76ers. Yes, sir. Undefeated this week. Looking real good. Beat the Spurs, the Bulls, the Rockets. Once again, the Spurs, the Bulls. Play-in tournament teams trying to get it done. 76ers, the Bulls team, the Spurs team, nothing to lose, going balls to the wall, and the 76ers still get the win. So that's still good there. Trying to just kind of shore up that number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They got the nice 2.5 game lead over that, so they're looking real good at that. Let's see if they can close out their last 5-6 games. They beat the Rockets. That's an easy one right there. That's just a garbage team. So, but yeah, the 76ers team, when they're fully healthy, folks, I think this is one of the best rosters in the league of just Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, obviously, Danny Green, Seth Curry, that's their starting lineup. And then their bench, Dwight Howard, so great production. And he kind of gets slept on in the 6th man of the year argument, honestly. I would probably put his name in top 3, honestly. He's getting great rebounding production down there. Shake Milton scoring the ball down low, fantastic. So they've got real great depth off the bench. Their starting rosters is one of the best in the league. So they're winning games at the end of the season. They have a really kind of easy schedule, I believe, remaining for their last couple of games here, but I'm not gonna penalize them for winning games that they should win at the end of the season. So we move the 76ers up to number 3. Alrighty, new number 2 team, and what an impressive week for them. The Bucks, folks. They were number 9 coming into this week. We got to jump them up all the way to number 2. You beat the freaking Nets twice back-to-back. No problem. Yes, sir. Giannis absolutely went manic. Giannis stepped it up. He was like, you know what? I'm sick of, y'all not stepping it up in the playoffs. I'm going to go 1,000% and I'm going to control my own destiny out here. So we really have to start looking at this Bucks team as legitimate title contenders. I know I've been writing off the Bucks as like title contenders this season just because of the last couple of seasons, what they've been doing, floundering in the playoffs. But man, oh man, Giannis getting it done kind of single-handedly. Drew Holiday's fantastic as the number 1. Chris Middleton's been stepping it up as well. They still got Brook Lopez at the 5, so there's just too much beef down low for this Bucks team, and we saw it just absolutely kill the Nets. So shout out to this Bucks team getting right, beating the best competition here at the back half of the season. There's nothing better than we can get beyond that. So they beat the Nets twice, and then they go and beat the Wizards, that hungry Wizards team that's trying to secure their playoff spot. And the Bucks say, you're not going to beat us. I know it was close, but that's a game that the Bucks just came off facing one of the best teams in the league in the Nets, or theoretically on paper, one of the best teams in the league. So well done for this Bucks team. Absolutely fantastic. And we got to count. I'm taking this Bucks team truly seriously now. I think this Bucks team is dangerous. This is the time that they're dangerous now. So watch out for them. I would not want to play this Bucks team in the playoffs. Giannis is hungry. He looks angry. He's playing absolutely aggressive. He put up like 40 points each game in that Nets series. So Bucks at number 2. Well done, Giannis. Go get it done, sir. And then the number 1 team, I'm keeping the Nuggets, folks. Yes, sir. What a great week for them. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Knicks. They did lose against the Lakers, but we're going to kind of write off that loss just a little bit. Just kind of like we, wrote off the Kings loss against the Mavs. The winning against the Clippers outweighs whatever you just lost to, honestly. So, well done for the Nuggets. Jokic still getting it done. Michael Porter Jr. stepping up his offensive production ever since Jamal Murray went out. And, folks, we're like 10 games removed from Jamal Murray going down. And Michael Porter Jr. is still getting it done. It wasn't like a 1-game fluke, a 2-game fluke, a 5-game fluke, a 7-game fluke. He's doing it 10 straight games, 25-plus points, and he will be the leading scorer if he needs to get it done. Aaron Gordon getting it done defensively. Still not taking a lot of shots. And can we talk about mother-loving Facundo Campazzo? What an absolute stud, folks, to step in. Yes, he's not giving us 1,000% of Jamal Murray's production, but he's giving us like 80, 75, 80, 85% of Jamal Murray's production. The points, the facilitating the floor, the rebounds, everything, the great efficiency, not trying to do too much, just being the game manager. So I give Facundo Campazzo so much freaking credit here for this Nuggets wins, their success. Got to give so much credit to Facundo Campazzo. And then off the bench, Austin Rivers starting to maybe break out a little bit. We just saw him with a 25-point game, so let's see, if he can get it. He started on a 10-day contract. They signed him for the rest of the season. And now we're talking about, a little bit of a deeper bench here for the Nuggets. Monte Morris has been out. That was kind of their starting point guard. So, honestly, Facundo Campazzo was kind of their third option at point guard, and he's still stepping it up. Fantastic. So, Nuggets winning without their best player, or one of their best players. Jamal Murray was solid for this team. I don't care what anybody says. Absolutely magnificent for this team. But they're still winning. Jokic is still getting great production. The bench is starting to step it up. Folks, they've lost 2 games without Jamal Murray. I cannot express on how great that is. So, Nuggets stay at number 1. They just beat the Clippers. They just beat the Knicks. Great teams in this league. So, we give the Nuggets so much credit for that. We'll keep them at number 1 for another week. So, that is our power rankings going into basically the final week, folks. Next Sunday is when the season ends, the regular season ends. So 5-6 games for everybody left. Final week of power rankings coming up. This is how we see the league. Hawks at 10, Wizards at 9, Mavs at 8, Knicks at 7, Suns at 6, Jazz at 5, Clippers at 4, 76ers at 3, Bucks at 2, and the Nuggets still the number 1 team for another week, folks. And let's also shout out the Kings at number 11. Let's see if they can kind of get in that playing tournament. They've worked very hard these last 2 weeks, 7-3 in their last 10, in a huge game tonight. So Kings at number 11. Well done.